Okay. All right.
Good evening. This is the Town of Ossining Planning Board for June 19th, 2019. Can we go around the table and introduce ourselves?
Carolyn Stevens, board member.
Cheng Hua Chen, Chair.
Gareth Huffman, board member.
Jim Seas, board member.
Nancy Arcia, consulting engineer to the planning board.
Sandy Miller, secretary.
David Stolman, town planning consultant.
Kathy Solantis, planning board attorney.
Thank you. Just before we start, though, as some of you may know, Greg McWilliams, who was the vice chair on this planning board, passed away on June 5th. I first met Greg when I was on the zoning board of appeals here, on which Greg also had served before coming to the planning board. Greg was an admired architect and not only served Ossining, but also Westchester County, and was on numerous boards, including the Westchester County Professional Pre-Qualification Board. In 2015, Greg was honored with the Distinguished Citizen Planner Award from the Westchester Municipal Planning Federation. And even after he became ill, Greg attended our meetings and continued to serve. I believe I speak for our board in noting our appreciation to Greg and to Greg's family and loved ones for his Ossining community work and for his dedication and professionalism. Let's have a moment of silence in memory of Gregory J. McWilliams. Thank you.
Ching, in the past, the planning board has adopted resolutions in this sort of situation, and your board may want to adopt a resolution endorsing what you just said to honor Greg.
Could I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any objections? Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. The first item on the agenda is the Rayford DeBurn, Old Albany Post Road, 52 Lot 3, architectural review.
Good evening. J.B. Hernandez, architect for the project, consultant, Mr. Fassel, who's the owner of the project. I think we have gone through numerous changes and renovations. If you want to take a look, I've tried to put something together. If this what you look, some of your comments. I know you don't. I can't give it to you right now, but I'm saying I'm putting together the specifications. So we have put everything together in one package, so in a way when the board passes a resolution, it can be all referred to one item dated wherever it's approved. So in a way, in that we will have Exhibit 8, which will be the plans and elevations of the modular home, which include the additional window on the side as requested by the board. It will be the colors and the specifications under this package. Also the retaining walls specifications and any potential fencing that it will be in the future. So with that, hopefully we can move this forward and get this approved. Also, I saw there are comments from both from Frederick Clark and Mr. Ciarcia. All these comments, I don't think they're bit technical stuff, clearing the drawings, making sure that there is no both drawings, mine and Mr. Noviello's, have the same information, and I think all of that can be accomplished for the next meeting. Also, we see here from Mr. Ciarcia, there are a few comments on the proposed driveway, some contours. I'm sure that also that can be addressed. Because I believe that besides those comments, as for the board, there was no issue. We have provided you all the information, all the renderings and colors that the board had requested. No?
That's fine. I'm not sure what colors you decided or are proposing. and I'm also not sure where you plan to use natural stone walls and where they are the block
Yes, I put
in this version.
I can answer that. So, we haven't changed the natural stone like we did on Lot 1. So the front and the sides of the driveway, just like we did on Lot 1, will be all natural stone dry. It shows that on the site plan. The beginning of the retaining walls from the front of the property will be the cornerstone willow color. And I believe that we will not exceed 4 feet on those side walls, based on what we were looking at there, where we moved the house approximately 15 foot closer to the road. If in fact we do exceed 4 feet, then we have to use the reinforced lightweight concrete wall. And that will be along the sides if it exceeds 4 feet and in the back. But based on the elevations that we were out there looking at, once we get into construction, like on Lot 1, we haven't exceeded 4 feet. So I believe by moving that house 15 foot closer, we won't exceed 4 feet. But in the worst case scenario, we put the worst case scenario on that site plan that I submitted to you guys.
Mr. Noviello's site plan.
Yep.
The revised plan, 4.3. It has
4 to 6.
Yeah.
4 to 6.
4 to 6.
Like I said, those are worst case scenario engineering drawings. But in the event we have to hit worst case scenario, we're going to do the Zillow where it's identified on the site plan, and then reinforced concrete for the rest of the sides and in the back.
So this Zillow is what?
Is that
That's-
8-inch block, 8 by 18 block that we did.
Okay, so you said it, but I missed exactly the thresholds where you would change from natural to that. Oh, okay.
This is the Zillow 8 by 18 block. And there's a lot of information on here, you can see it, I have it highlighted on my copy.
So in purple here
Will be,
is
if we
reinforced concrete?
exceed 4 feet, then we're gonna do reinforced concrete, which we will excavate straight down.
I have no problem with
Which we're
reinforced
not-
concrete.
We're not going to have to disturb any of the neighbors' property.
Okay, I do, however, have an issue if this is showing, as I think you just said, that the block will come all the way out to the street.
If, in the worst case scenario, it's gonna come out to there.
So I thought you said earlier, 2 minutes ago, I must have misunderstood that that was going to be natural
Natural
stone.
stone's gonna be in the front,
Only in the front.
only in the front and then the sides of the driveway.
Oh, and the sides of the
Sides
driveway.
of the driveway.
Okay, so there and there.
Yeah. So what we can do, Gareth, I cut this thing up 50 million times.
Right.
I have no more options. At this point, you know, I'm at break point. So it's all we can do. Which one? Like I said, I'll do my best to avoid it. I don't think we're gonna hit 4 feet.
So
Because this house is
Yeah.
back further and the contours get a little steep here.
could I ask for one small, for you to consider one small change? If, when you bring this wall forward, so it's on either extreme sides, maybe do like the terminal 4 feet or so in natural
Yeah,
stone?
I can come in 4 feet in that, just.
Okay, let's do that.
I just can't keep pushing this back for
No,
3
I'm-
weeks.
I'm just mostly concerned with,
Yeah.
you know, the street view, and the walls you did on the other one were beautiful.
Yeah,
you know, so-
that's my quality work.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna shortchange it, so.
Okay, so you agree to do the first 4 feet on those two extreme
I'll go
walls as
4
well?
feet on the side, sure.
Okay,
Okay.
if the rest of the board agrees with that.
Plan shows one retaining wall on the northerly side of the driveway.
So he shows one retaining wall on the north, one retaining wall on the south.
And on the driveway, it's just on the northerly side of the driveway.
Okay.
No, both sides of the driveway are gonna be natural stone. Just like a lot, have you been by the
Yeah,
site?
this doesn't show a retaining wall on the southerly side of the driveway.
If the site plan doesn't recall it, it's not gonna need it.
It says right
That's the northern side.
The issue with the
That's the
front
northern
is
side,
there's some
that's the
grading
southern
needs to
side
be
right
shown
there.
better.
So there's not much of a
But
driveway.
that's engineering, I mean, that's not architectural.
No, but it ties into the walls and how big they're gonna be.
So this here is the northern side, and that's stone, as you say.
Yeah,
And this little bit here is the southern side, and that's only about 5 or so feet.
that's gonna be natural stone too.
That'll be natural stone.
Yeah.
Anything in front is gonna be natural
Natural
stone.
stone, and we'll make
And then the
those
first 4 feet of both
Make
the
those
north
corners
and the
natural
south
stone.
walls.
Sure,
Okay,
yep.
got it. Thank you. I'm happy with that.
Is that not currently reflected on that
It
plan?
is not.
So the plan has to be revised or?
Yeah, and it's
reflect
in
what-
my memo. Yeah, and that's not in my memo, but the memo talks about specifying the construction materials. But that first 4 feet is not shown.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, sorry. The second question, the colors. What are you thinking about now? I know you were.
We submitted for the sandstone beige for the house, and the retaining wall colors is willow. It's the same as the first one.
Right, so regarding the sandstone, it's not my favorite personally. I think I mentioned at one point, asking if you had seen a particular house up by the 7-Eleven.
Yeah, you did.
Have you had a chance to take a look at
Yeah,
that?
I told you, I said it's a nice color. You know, look, I can change the siding color. That's an easy one, because I haven't, like, the house is built already. That's the only problem. Modular company went and jumped ahead of us and built the house. But I can change that siding color, because that house doesn't come with any of the siding on
Right,
either of the
right,
walls.
yeah.
So I can change that color. I just ask that you guys please don't hold me up another 2 weeks for me to change the color on the siding, because now time is of the essence and the market is really quiet, and I'm almost at break point here where I'm not gonna be able to go on.
So you'd be willing to
So I'd
consider
be-
that change?
Yes,
Okay.
I
So-
will make that change for you, as long as
Well, let
we
me
agree
ask the board
to
what
get
they
this
think.
going.
So the color is almost a navy blue, right?
Let me show you,
With white trim?
let me show you a,
Very nice.
yeah, navy blue's nice. Yeah, no, I know, I have it here. Let's get this established right now.
Yep.
Signing colors.
Yeah, it's on the website.
Sure, I have. This is the options I have, yeah. I'm colorblind, so this was his option.
That's too light. Yeah, that's a completely different feel. Can you go with a different?
I don't know if they have another option. I probably can, I just have to eliminate signs from that. We'll have to come up with a,
We won't hold them up.
I don't think any of the colors that they selected are bad.
No, but I think some colors are better than others for historic neighborhoods.
I mean, I don't, as long as you don't hold me up, I don't have a problem with it.
I don't want to hold you up.
Blue's nice, with white,
Yeah.
with the white corner moldings.
I mean, if it's okay with the
I just
board,
want to
I'm
add
willing to
something.
give you.
This isn't a
Conditional.
public hearing yet. We have to have a public hearing.
Yeah, before anything can be resolved anyway, right?
Right.
Okay.
So you have to notice for a public hearing. If the board feels like your plans are at a place.
Wasn't this a continuation of a public hearing?
Have we done a public?
Yes.
Sure. No.
I thought this was a continuation.
No, we were hoping that you would have a more complete submission, so we wouldn't have to do this.
Okay, so, tell me what you need me to do. You need to revise your plan to show the walls
Right.
around the corner
No,
and give you a specific color on it.
And then Dan had a couple of comments.
yeah, those, none of the stuff that the comments we don't can resolve, so I think it's setting up the public hearing and hopefully you can get the, in one.
Dan, do you have any comments that you want to put on a record right now?
Well, they're in our memo. Basically, a lot of it revolved around retaining walls and a lot, and as you've heard, the materials depend upon the height, and there's some holes in there in terms of the grading, particularly in the front of the building and the rear of the building. So in order to ascertain the height, that needs to be tightened up a little bit.
Okay, and the applicant has already discussed this with you?
Well, he's seen my memorandum.
Okay.
So,
And you're-
Quite
you're-
frankly, it
Now-
wouldn't be a bad idea to do the engineering plan at 10 scale. Because there's a lot of other stuff on that plan that's, you know, that the focus really ought to be on what we're looking at, and it gets lost at that scale. It's hard to discern.
I understand
the
that,
grade.
but
Well,
is
if
this,
you could- if you could show it, then
something
fine.
that is within the building department? Because this is an architectural review, and I need to be able to get going here. And all these revisions end up costing a tremendous amount of money and time,
Look,
so.
the more complete it is, the faster it goes forward at any stage you want to talk about, okay? That's why I'm trying to get their comments, the staff's comments down for you to make sure that you understand them, you've responded to them. David, do you have any comments also?
I have essentially the same comments I made a month ago. So yes, and I think that JB is submitting something that may respond to most, if not all, of the comments. But these are essentially the same comments I made a month ago.
Okay. Do you think you'll have a ready submission that would
As
address
far
all?
as, I mean, the engineering, I mean, this is the only, I'm not sure we have the,
You can do it.
okay. Yeah. yes.
What's the next step on this?
We need to schedule a public hearing.
When do you think you'll have your submissions ready, including knowing whether you'll get the colors as suggested?
Within a week.
Yeah.
All right? What's the deadline? I mean, I can have them,
Sandy, when's the next public meeting?
Well, we're not having the next meeting till July 17th, which could be his public hearing.
So you'll definitely have it in within enough time for the staff
Sure.
as well to take a look at?
yeah, in time for the staff, no doubt. July 17th.
Okay, yeah.
Right. you'll have to
Okay, so
go
this-
to
The only thing I'm
July
gonna have to do is get the engineering stuff.
What is the submission deadline?
Okay. So we're gonna show the wall and the
July
color of the
17th,
siding.
Yep.
That should be sufficient. What about the grading? And,
And the grade, yeah.
I'll ask Matt to do the grading, and if he can do it in 1 inch equals 10.
So July 8th is the drop dead date to get your submission in. And
And
you have
the
to work,
mailing-
and you have to work with Sandy on the notices to get that out.
Okay.
Could I ask a question about process? Would it be at all possible to allow the builder to start working the land, just since he has site plan approval?
He doesn't, no. He doesn't have, there is no site plan approval. We've been
Okay, I
over
thought that just came with the plan.
that. No, there's no site plan
So there's
approval.
nothing you
There's
can
no
do
site
now?
plan.
There's no site
Required.
plan approval in the town
Got it.
for single-family homes.
Okay, so there's nothing you can do?
There's nothing's been approved, other
Got
than,
it.
I guess, a subdivision, but not a site plan.
I just wanted to ask in case.
Before, in order to, can we draft the resolution of anticipation and have it everything?
I'm sorry, what
Can we draft the resolution in anticipation and having
We're okay with you drafting a resolution, assuming that you
Yeah.
have everything ready to go, otherwise we wouldn't act on it anyway, you understand that?
No, no,
Right, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
that would be
we'll-
appreciated.
We'll have an instruction for the staff to draft it if it seems appropriate, after your submissions are made. And again, you have a drop dead date.
No problem.
Great, anything else?
That's it.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is Rinaldi subdivision, 39 Stormington Road, proposed 10-lot subdivision, a continuation of the public hearing. Is the applicant here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
Good evening, J.B. Hernandez, architect for the project. This is a consideration of a public hearing. We have submitted more information, and we have received comments back from the staff. As engineering goes, we're proposing to have a meeting with Dan Ciarcia and our engineer to kind of go through the items outstanding and resolve some of the stormwater issues that we have in grading. As per, we have in the last couple of days, in case some of the neighbors that were here the last time, in case they didn't see the notice, we did drop, I think 4 neighbors were here. We did deliver to them the mailbox copies of the updated drawings so everybody can be updated on the project. I think 2 of the comments that we wanted to make, it was again, it was the traffic that we are increasing the project by only 9 houses. In Stormy Town, that should be, we expect to be a significant change in the traffic pattern. And the other comment is that we do not anticipate any blasting in the project. And if any blasting will be done, which again, we anticipate there's regulations from the town that we will have to follow. As the changes that most of the changes that we have dealt with are stormwater related. There is also a discussion that we may change this coltex of this stormwater system here in order to put a grass swale to alleviate some of the stormwater in the back. Also, we may introduce some grass swale along the property here. Those basically have been the biggest changes we've done project-wise. We haven't changed the house locations, things like that.
Brad, any questions at this time?
What was in place before the grass swale?
There was nothing in place.
Nothing.
We're trying to
So
alleviate some because the proximity to the brook here, we're trying to
Right.
alleviate some of that.
Right, that's my main concern.
Yes.
The drainage to the brook, which is in the Sing Sing Kill watershed. Do the grass swales, do they allow the water to just soak into the ground like a rain garden? Or do they convey the water?
I will get you that information, but I believe it's the latter. It's more like a rain garden. But I will be working with the engineer on that, and I think there's DEC regulations that will determine the width of this grass swale.
And the more water that can be, held and soaked into the
Right.
ground, the better, of course.
Yes.
Does the staff have any comments at this time?
We have a memo, and if JB has no questions about it, there are no showstoppers, it's just more information.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say mine's sort of in the same place. We've provided a number of comments that JB or the engineer can start to address, and we can talk offline in advance of the next meeting and try to take care of some of those items.
Okay.
Are there any members of the public here who wish to speak on this topic?
I was mainly, Elizabeth Maripodi. I live 1 Vaux Avenue, and my property is by the Sing Sing Kill Brook, and then there's another brook that goes into it. And I was mainly concerned about the water coming down from a new development that would, because that's wetlands, and I've seen that flooded before, so that's my concern, water.
Right, I believe that's already been
And
addressed.
that's what he's gonna
Is she here for this one, or did she have
Are you,
back?
Since they both involve the Sing Sing Kill.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just wondering.
okay, I believe you've already addressed that issue when.
Yes, I did.
Yes.
Oh, he
Yeah,
just said
because
that,
he was talking about the drainage
Right.
issues as well. Any other members of the public wish to speak? Okay, so we'll just look for your next submission in response to the staff's comments as well. What's the next step
You
on
can
this?
adjourn the public hearing to the 17th of July.
Very good, okay. Oh,
other people here tonight.
Well, then I think we should talk about it right for
This is the project before the one you're here for.
No.
She's at one box.
Yes,
She's-
but my-
well, she's that's on both.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
it's
so
on-
that's what about-
adjacent to
yeah.
both, my apologies.
Back of it goes down the
Yeah.
box.
Okay, so a resolution to adjourn this for July 17th.
So moved.
Is there,
Second?
I was just gonna, since there is no comments, any more comments, you wanna wait to close the public hearing, or?
We will wait to close the
The
public
reason,
hearing.
an important reason for waiting, JB, is because once the public hearing is closed, there's a 62-day clock.
Okay,
And if the planning board can't meet that, it either has to deny the application or ask you for more time. So it puts
Okay.
the planning board in a bind.
Also, staff asked for more information, so if
Right.
more information is
We
coming
have
from
to
the
wait for submission
applicant.
Anyway.
okay.
Okay, so no objections to 17th? Very good. Okay, so we'll adjourn to the 17th. Thank you, Sam. Next item on the agenda.
And I'm sorry, we probably ought to ask them to do too, we haven't seen a plat yet.
Okay, just, could we
JB?
just,
JB.
Yep. Just to make sure, Dan got another comment?
Yeah, we haven't seen a plat for this yet, since we've got a public hearing going, we should get a look at the plat.
Okay.
With the preliminary app. There's 2 steps.
Two steps.
It's not a minor subdivision.
Just wait a couple of moments because, okay, applicant here for MGM subdivision, 5 Hawks Avenue, 2 lot subdivision.
Correct. Ed Jamola from Jamola Associates. I'm one of the partners in the MGM Design Construction. And I just, I have an old drawing, and I have a, just for the people that have not seen this, we had an approval in July '09. We held off from doing anything with the economy and taking a chance of building if we got it approved, and then not selling it. We did get information from Westchester County that had reviewed it, and since that, we met with staff in terms of the environmental restrictions that got more severe. They recommended downsizing it from the 3 lots to the 2. So this, some color on this, any of the folks want to look at it, but this was, it's off Hawks Avenue, and there's an entrance right here. There were 3 lots, and what we did now is basically re-engineered it, and still have some engineering items left to do, but we basically had the property reflagged and narrowed it down to 2 driveways, one almost at the intersection of Dale and Hawks, and one in the middle, very close to where it was. The property is goes all the way back to Dale Brook, and then comes around here. There is still an existing house which we had rented for all those years, paid for taxes, and that's in here, and that'll be on the engineering plans. That house will come down once we start, and then these 2 houses will be developed. I have the engineer from Joe Rena's office, who's still the engineer who started the job, and they're finishing it. So if there's any questions from the engineering or for me, I'd gladly try to answer what I can.
Does the staff kind of comments at this time?
We have several preliminary comments. Very simply, and you said that the wetland was delineated. If you could provide who did that, when it was done,
Yes, we have all that.
and the criteria that they used.
Okay.
Secondly, there's a new section that talks about a certain amount. In the R20 zone, at least 15,000 square feet needs to be without wetlands and without steep slopes. So that needs to be shown. And the third thing, these are just threshold issues, and we can go further afterwards. We need a full EAF as part of the application. Then we can get going with real comments.
Has the applicant received a copy of the comments, by the way?
Yes, we did.
Very good. Okay, Dan, do you have comments this time?
I mean, basically, we had reviewed it as a 3-lot, and they had prepared a stormwater pollution prevention plan at that time. So the 2-lot configuration, I would assume it would be less of an impact, but they'll have to provide one of those revised SWIP, which the applicant's aware of.
And the applicants received a copy of Dan's memo as well?
Yes.
We've actually received one drawing, and that makes sense because I think Ed wanted to find out if it was conceptually okay, but we're now waiting for all the rest of the drawings as well.
Yeah, once we hear that you're okay with this, we'll prepare all of the plans that you were seeking.
And once we see the wetland delineation, we can say this looks good conceptually or not.
Any questions or comments from the board?
I'm sure you show it there, but could you point out the wetland delineation boundary and the buffer boundary?
So
It's right up here.
That's the
that's the
wetland
wetland.
delineation,
Right.
okay.
The buffer is here. So we kept all the buildings out of the buffer, as much of the driveway as possible, but in order to meet the threshold for lot size, for this lot, this portion of driveway here is in the buffer. There's no disturbance to the wetland, it's all buffer disturbance. This area though, right now, is lawn, and I guess we can talk about that more extensively once we have, I guess, satisfied showing you that the flagging is.
Yeah, if the wetland delineation holds up, then it really looks pretty good.
Yeah, I was actually just going to say this is a whole lot better than it had been, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this is not a public hearing yet, so.
No, and it's a little premature without the rest of the drawings to schedule a public hearing.
Very good. Okay,
Oh, one other comment. Just a minor thing, labeling. If you wouldn't mind, Dale Brook, if you could maybe put in parentheses, say, tributary to the Sing Sing Kill. Sing Sing Kill has a lot of problems with transport of a lot of gravel and sand material down toward the river. There's a lot of concern being raised about it by Metro North. And so there was some talk about doing a watershed plan. And so we want to make sure that we'll get as much labeling and documentation of the watershed as we can. So
Yeah.
if you could just show that, that'd be great.
Yeah, we
Okay, thank you.
now, with the thought that this is not a public hearing, are there any members of the public here who wish to comment at this time or have questions at this time?
Yes, I have a question. My name is John Giorgiani. I live at 4 Hawks Avenue, directly across from the proposed construction there. Can you point out exactly where that existing house is that's going to be demolished?
pretty much in the footprint of this proposed one here.
Okay, because my house right now is directly across the street. I was just concerned about the driveway going in. Is that a driveway right there?
This,
One
this,
here,
yeah, this.
very close to where the old one was, and there's one here.
So it's close to where the existing driveway is now going into that?
Yes.
This is just the house. I think it just, the driveway bends in like that.
Yeah, the driveway comes in like
And
this.
how far back is the house?
Uh,
It's set further back then.
From the property line 30 feet, from the road, probably 50 feet.
And that tree line, that existing tree line along the road, is that remaining there?
To the extent which we can, I mean, obviously we have to put a driveway in. It's mostly in the same location as the existing driveway. But these trees here, none of them are being called to be removed at the moment, and I don't think they will need to be to construct this. So for some of the ones up here that will most likely need to come out.
Yeah, because I'm concerned about, the construction vehicles going in and out during the construction phase, and it's hard to get in and out. My driveway, as it is already. And, the activity, and so so.
When we begin to prepare a more complete set of documents, an erosion sediment control will be required, and that will address some of those construction concerns of yours. We'll have a construction entrance which will show how trucks will be leaving the site.
Probably have a tracking pad so they don't drag anything out into the street.
But I mean, you're gonna try to keep most of the scenery the way it is now. I mean,
Yeah, we're
you're not gonna
trying
open
to-
the whole place up.
We're trying to leave what's here, these that are shown are all the existing trees, so we're trying to leave as much as possible.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. If that's the end of, oh, somebody else?
Yeah, Daniel Kang, I'm in 3 Hawks Avenue. It's the house on the left that is colored, I think.
That's
So I-
built to the...
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
So I think I'll be affected quite a bit. Question about lot number 2, which is 16 feet away from the property line. Is it possible if that house could be situated a little bit further from the property line? I know this is very preliminary, but
Unfortunately, not really. We're kind of, for the board's request, the 3-lot, when we moved all the houses outside of the wetland buffer. And then that paired with the setback requirements.
yeah.
If you come up and look, there's really not a lot of room which you could put anything.
How about what if we were to be closer to lot number 1, which the property line is about 30 feet, if we were to split the 2? I'm not only thinking of from our point of view, but from the owner's point of view of this lot number 2, just to have a little bit more space between the 2 lots.
Right, so we can't move it close because it requires a 30-foot setback, and we are at 30.1 feet setback from that property line. So we are pretty much
30
right
from lot number 1.
From lot number 1.
But
Yes.
from my property, is it different?
Yeah,
wide
because yours is a side yard, that's a front yard.
side and front. Okay, so to me that's. How about going north? Is that possible? Not closer to lot number 1, but moving the entire house.
If you were to come up, you could see
Yeah.
the lines that are constraining.
Yeah, I guess.
So see this dashed line here? This is the wetland buffer.
Okay.
Which we can't go any further there.
I see.
And this line here is the zoning setback line.
This is property line here,
Yeah.
setback here, this is the property line, setback here, and here.
Well, I guess in that case, how about reducing the size? What's the square footage that you guys are expecting for the structure?
This is a preliminary
Probably
footprint.
between
Okay.
25 and 3,000 square feet.
3,000 square feet. No, I feel like the houses are.
They're not mansions, they're, you know.
No, imagine, well, if you look at it, compared to the footage of my house, 3 Hawks Avenue, it's a little bit larger, right? I guess that has garage and things like that.
Yeah, there's a garage on
Yeah.
the side here.
But I feel like the house is being proposed at its maximum size, trying to fit within the limits of that 30 feet and then 16 feet. If the house was a little bit smaller, I think it'll give a little bit more distance between all the properties. That would be my preliminary
Well,
comment, thank
it's
you.
up to John Hamilton, but I looked at that, I don't think it's a side yard.
Really?
It would, then the house on the lot 2 would be closer to the other house, right?
You might want to have a conversation with the building inspector on that 30-foot dimension, just to get his interpretation on whether it's a front yard setback or a side yard setback.
So
I know it's facing the front, but it's adjacent to the side yard of the other property, and I can see you making the argument that the front is actually located street front where the property, where the driveway meets the street.
I'll have to look at what the code.
Because that might give you a little bit of flexibility if he feels that that's a side, but I'm not gonna get.
If this was a side, you're saying, here.
I'm not saying whether it is
No,
or
no,
it isn't.
no.
I'm just suggesting that might
I
be.
just want to understand what you're
Which
saying.
lot line are you talking about?
That dimension here,
Right, so.
I can see you making the argument that that's a side yard setback as opposed to a front.
We'll let you swing your house a
But you
little
should,
bit.
but you should probably have a discussion with the building inspector to see if he agrees. Because if he does deem it a side, then you have a little bit of flexibility to adjust the location of the house.
Okay,
Yeah,
do that.
swing it a little bit.
Sure, I understand.
You might as well know beforehand.
Absolutely.
Can I just add one thing? I guess I can make the same argument that you're stating that it's 16 feet because it's a side of my property. Is that true?
No, that's definitively a side.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It gets complicated when the, the lot's configuration isn't square.
Well, one's behind the other.
Right.
Could, well, if this gets close to here, that's, we could probably grow that a little.
Yeah.
If we were to take this and rotate it
Yeah.
closer, then this, that
Yeah.
that gentleman's,
Right.
we'll
Yeah.
get some
Swing
more.
it. Yeah.
Do you have
Yes,
another
John.
sheet that I don't have, that shows a somewhat larger scale or smaller scale?
No, this is the only sheet we prepared for
That's
this
the only
meeting
one.
because we wanted to try to get.
Would
an
it be
idea.
possible to get one that shows, maybe more adjacent properties? Because my main interest for this is understanding where the Dale Brook or the Sing Sing Kill goes. And I can't tell, I'm fairly familiar with this area, but I can't tell if this is the spot where the Sing Sing Kill turns around like this, and there's like a peninsula that this house is on, or whether that's one or two properties away.
I'm not sure, I could look and see what the county has, but, this is the information we have. Everything else outside of the property line would be county-generated GIS data.
That'd be
You
fine.
can see what they have.
Yeah, I don't want any, fancy
We'll
survey.
give you a shot from a Google Earth shot.
Yeah, it wouldn't give you widths of the stream, but it might give you the path of the stream.
If you could do that and roughly superimpose where this property line is and the two proposed houses.
Okay.
On a
Another
Google
larger
map.
scale map, I understand, yep.
You don't have to make it a big blow up, just a.
Right, just more of an area map of the surrounding, of the
Exactly.
surrounding area.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand, yep.
And it doesn't have to be fancy, just so I, can get a better understanding of where this is relative to.
We can do that, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments or questions from the public at this time?
Well, on the next drawing,
Yeah.
would you be able to do a superimposition of the existing house too? Because that'll help us kind of.
That's what he just asked
Oh,
for.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, tonight we were looking at just sort of this schematic, but when we do ultimately come back, we'll have to prepare a full set of plans. One of them will show the existing conditions, one of them will show a blown-up scale of the surrounding properties, all that will be for.
I have another question. The last meeting that I went to, they said they were gonna do a berm or something? A berm on the side of the property to prevent water from,
On the south side,
yeah, on the south side.
I'm not,
Could you
it's
repeat
possible.
your name, by the way?
Oh, Elizabeth Maripodi.
Hey,
On the one book
Right.
I wasn't at that meeting, but
They were talking about a berm.
I know in the past, we did not a berm, but a swale along that property line to, it would effectively work the same way, with direct runoff down towards the Dale Brook. And I know that there is one now down here proposed, but we can see if we can continue it up. The only issue I see with that is there is a high point kind of right here, and that, it'd be hard to push anything. It would just kind of pond and go directly towards his house.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, you could
So,
zoom that out.
ultimately, we're gonna have to do stormwater management on this project,
Yeah,
which
very.
we will do,
Yeah, that's
and
good.
would address most of those issues.
I hope
That's a requirement.
so. I want to sleep good at night.
Well, I assume that's during the construction issue, or is it?
No, I assume she's talking about a post-construction issue,
Post-construction.
yeah. Correct, you're talking about once it's built out,
Is that the-
new development pushing water in the way it wasn't before, yeah.
Could I ask you to point out your house?
I find
On
it
the
hard to see,
screen?
I find it hard to see where it is. Where is the driveway now?
So it's highlighted in yellow, so in the bottom right, there's a little house, the driveway's pretty much right up there.
So that I understand, so this is the Dale Brook,
Right.
and this is the other tributary to the Sing Sing Kill, and
Right.
they meet right here.
And my
This
yard
that
is right on the,
peninsula I was talking about.
my yard is right on the Sing Sing,
Here?
right on, it's Hawkson Dale where he was saying.
Oh, right there, next, okay, right across from the
Rinaldi's
deli.
building, Rinaldi's building here at the fork,
Is that
See
across
that
from
fork?
the deli?
See the fork of the road?
This fork, that's,
Yeah, my house is directly across from it.
this is the deli?
The deli's down from.
Deli's
Deli's
down
right
there.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, it's one further.
Yeah.
I got it, yeah.
And so the water is running right by my property.
Goes right through there.
When
Yeah.
Floyd was here, FEMA had to come.
This is you? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
So FEMA had to come, and my husband built a wall to keep our property from washing away more, and I don't want us to wash away while I'm still alive.
We will, as part of, the final site plan, prepare a stormwater plan, which will make sure that there's no additional runoff running off of the site. That's a requirement that we will have to meet regardless.
Yes.
So we'll make sure that's.
Okay.
All right, any other comments? Okay, thank you. What's the next step on this?
Wait for a new submission.
Very good. And you folks will be ready for the next meeting, or?
Yes, if for the next meeting, correct me if I'm wrong, we're just submitting to you the wetland information so that you can kind of approve this schematic layout, so then we can start preparing the rest of the plans.
That's fine with me.
Okay.
Because at this point, if we wouldn't prepare new plans if it turns out you can't accept this
Right,
layout.
right. This is still preliminary, we're not in a public hearing. Correct. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, that covers up the members. We had an adjournment, an extension from Outcome Public. What's this?
Do you remember the site plan of 593 North State Road?
Okay.
It was Armstrong, they were just doing a parking lot and moving into.
Plumbing,
the house.
Armstrong Plumbing.
Oh, do we actually need to do anything on this?
We need an extension, because what happened is that when they started to do something, or they realized there's a water main, an existing water main on the site that nobody knew about, so we're entering into an easement agreement with the town, so it's just.
How old is that portion?
See that one?
How old is that portion?
This is
of
my
the water?
front door, right?
How old is the water main?
Your
Yeah,
front.
that portion.
Yeah.
Probably
So from, it's from his
It was
point of view.
discovered.
Some of the town put in one day, well, it's a good idea, and the old owners probably didn't care. They might know.
All right, so resolution to extend the extension.
No, it's,
He's the ultimate.
Extend site plan approval for 1 year.
from the houses.
No objections, I don't think there's an objection, we'll check with them afterwards, but they'll pass anyway.
He asked for a 1 year renewal.
Oh, 1 year?
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Great, anything else? Anything you want? Items? Okay.
I just want to thank you for acknowledging that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
So sorry. I really enjoyed working with you.
Have a good
Good
night.
night.
Here's the distance where you can go.
Is it 1 here and 1 here?
Okay, so we'll have the next meeting on July 17th. So we can see what's up.
I guess Dan wasn't here when I mentioned it, but I was thinking of inviting everyone to my home before either the July 17th or the August 9th, is it August 9th meeting? Whatever.
August 7th.
7th, okay. For dinner before the meeting.
That's a nice touch. It might catch on, you might find yourself.
Might just show up.
I think Dan would like you to do it both July and.
Anyway, does anybody have a preference as to? Okay, so.
I'm away in August.
Okay, so then let's do the July, okay, so.
But I don't want to push you if that's,
No, that's
you know,
fine.
if
That's
you're
a
not.
month away. I can deal with it.
So like 3 o'clock in the afternoon?
Well, 5 o'clock, is that good for everybody?
Sure.
You may have a
I
problem,
might
I
have a problem.
understand.
But it's
come
okay.
when you,
I'll come when I see you.
Can you email us the
Yes, I will.
your address?
I'll email the address and everything, so.
What can we bring?
Okay.
Yeah, what